Yep.
Okay, I just need to tell my lady. It's getting ready to go live on Facebook. Okay.
And we're live. So let me just come back. Hi, it's Rithkin from Ontier. This is part of my 50 Duke Challenge, and tonight my guest host is my sister, Ashaxi. She's at Order of the Laurel. And we're here with Duke now that I'm...
So now that you asked me, it's Duke Tomuki.
Tomuki, from Kaid and originally from Kalantir, right?
Yeah.
You've reigned in both kingdoms, right?
I've fought in 4 crowns and I've won 3.
Awesome. And I'm excited because I've met Tomuki before, and he's awesome, and his passion for fighting is unparalleled. And I'm looking forward to just hearing about his journey. So we usually start these things, and thank you for agreeing to come.
Oh, no problem. It was a great pleasure and an honor. I would do it in a heartbeat.
So we usually start these things with your origin story. So if you could tell us how you found the SCA and where and when and all that kind of stuff, that would be great.
Okay, well, I want to start off to say this is going to be a little convoluted because when I was 15 years old, I discovered D&D, and I started playing D&D with some people. And one Saturday night at 11 o'clock, they said, we got to wrap it up because we have to get to fighter practice. And then I went, fighter practice? And they said, yeah, we get in armor and do blah, 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 blah. Well, I was already a nerd enough to play D&D that I just thought they were reenacting D&D, and I was like, I'm not going to do that. That sounds stupid. And 2 years later, and while I was in college, I was riding with some buddies of mine, and we rode by a park, and some SCA people were over there fighting, and one of the guys in the car said, hey, what are these white guys doing? They're crazy. And I said, ooh, that looks interesting, because as a kid, I grew up in a town of 75 people, and I spent most of my time alone fighting trees and reading Greek mythology and stuff like that. So that looked very similar to, what I had an affinity for. So I said, hey, just drop me off. We're, only about a mile away from campus. If, I can walk back to the dorm and whatever. And as I walk in Agri Park, as I'm getting closer, I hear someone say, hey, TS. And I went, and then I looked and I noticed it was the group of people that I played D&D with. And I went, whoa, I wish you guys would have been, a little bit more forthcoming with what you were doing. I could have started at 15, and so that day I got authorized with the loner armor. And that Friday, I was going to my first event, which was Greenish War. And from Greenish War, I had to take about a month off to do mundane stuff and get those things settled and everything. And then I went back, and Pavel gave me a space to travel to Penzik. So Penzik was my second event, and that's where I met Duke Sean Tarragon.
Wow, jumping in the deep end.
Well, I hope I'm not embarrassing him when I say this, but I was standing with a girl that was from my shire, and, I can tell when people are flirty. And I was like, who is she flirting with this little kid for? And I looked at him, and I happened to look down, and I saw spurs on pony tennis shoes. And I went, you're a knight, and at that time, I think he was only like 16 maybe, and he goes, yeah. And I was under the, not saying that he didn't look like he was a good fighter, but he was a kid, and I was used to knights being these big burly, not muscle rippling, but just big dudes. And so I was like, how are you kicking ass? Excuse my language. I don't know.
That's okay.
How are you kicking butt at 16? And then these 32-year-old guys are kicking butt. So it was a little awkward for me to find out that not every bit of being a knight is about fighting, honor and chivalry and integrity and dance, and there's a whole mix of things that go into making up a knight, not just some stick jock. Uh, Even though we know that a lot of them are just stick jocks, but he was a really well-rounded individual. So that's what let me know that I had some work to do.
Cool. So when you went to Pensick, did you have your own armor already, or?
No, I didn't have armor. Our Shire had a big chest of loner armor. And when I first started, I had what we call Pavel plate. He had designed this a set of armor that worked for him, and that was there. And I had some 12 gauge legs and a big Frankenhelm is what it was called. Just this conglomerate of stuff. It was about 12 gauge too. And I immediately knew I had to get out of that because people were like, hey, he's not taking any leg shots. And I was like, well, you told me that it would sting for me to take a leg shot. And I'm wearing 12 gauge
Maybe
legs.
not in 12 gauge.
And so then I knew immediately I had to get out of that if I was going to play the game fairly and as it should be played.
So, at Pensick, I would imagine that you were exposed to a whole bunch of different styles and time periods and cultures, because it's such an immersive experience. Was there anything at that Pensick that sort of put you down one path or another?
Well, like you say, I really did get thrown in on the deep end. Being one of very few African Americans at that time, and I captured the attention of the king. So at my second event, he made me his banner bearer, and I was like, hey, dude, I have one polyester tunic that I made and tennis shoes. I mean, I am not fancy enough to be walking around with the king. Are you crazy? So he was my first kind of teacher, and it was a different format for Penzic back in the day. It was a pure 2 weeks, and the battles and the war didn't happen to the last weekend. So that first week was just pickup fights. So I would just get up in the morning and do pickup fights from 6 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock in the afternoon until when people left the thing. I fought so much that Master Pavel Yosevich would just come and grab my belt and drag me back to the site. He's like, enough, it's enough.
But like heaven.
Yeah, it was like, this is what I've been dreaming of forever, and it wasn't, I didn't fight for competition. I just fought to be the best fighter I could be. So that was my impetus to do it. It wasn't to be, I got to beat you. It's just that I've got to learn this because this has been going on since 66 and this is 1987. I got a lot of catching up to do, and so I was just very ambitious and very driven to fight a lot.
So, when you first started out, what kind of weapon system did they put in your hands, and how did you evolve that? Because I know you're not a typical sword and shield fighter.
No, for the first 2 or 3 years of SCA, I fought nothing but bastard sword. I think that happened because of all the martial arts I was taking, and I was doing weapons in martial art, and they didn't have shields in martial arts. And the bastard sword was the weapon I used in the martial art. And so that just translated to SCA. But I'm a big proponent of I'm going to get all philosophical now.
That's cool. I love philosophical.
Every weapon has a spirit and a voice, and it speaks to certain people. So certain people can fight really well with a great sword. Certain people can fight really well Florentine. Certain people can fight really well sword and shield. And if you don't allow the fighter to find the voice in the weapon, then they're not going to progress, because that's something that talks to them, so they don't have to work really hard to learn it. It's just all creativity from there. So I fought a lot of bastard sword because that was the weapon that spoke to me. And
So I know people are going to ask, what are your martial arts backgrounds? Which ones?
my martial art background is I'm a brown belt in Taekwondo and a black belt in Aikido. And I will dovetail this. The Taekwondo portion of that may have added a little bit, but the martial art that really spoke to me as a big man was Aikido. And I kind of took my name from that, because it's not a Ki Aikido, it's actually Tomuki Aikido. And it's no strikes, and it's about getting out of the way, redirecting people. And that really translated well to me in SCA fighting, getting out of the blow, sucking back and letting, and then taking their people's own energy and using it against them.
Well, if I ask you to expand on that, we're going to be skipping a lot, but I'm going to do it anyway because because I love that, and I would love for you to explain what you mean by that.
Um, I don't. Okay, I guess I'll have to explain Aikido some. In Aikido, there are no strikes. You just stand there and somebody punches at you, and then you just step to the side and allow them to use their own energy against them. Because if they can't hit you, they're going to fall out a step or crash into a chair, or and then you redirect their energy as they swing at you and miss you. You redirect that energy, and then you can mess them up by uh, with periphery damage by throwing them into door jams, throwing them into chairs or whatever like that. It's not an aggressive martial art, and I am not a. I might be very big and animated, but I'm not a very aggressive individual anymore. When I was younger, I was a fighter, and being of one of three black kids in a high school, I basically fought 200 and something, you know, times in that year, because I hate to say this, but a little racism. I mean, I could just be walking down and people would be walking and expecting me to get out of their way instead of they get out of my way. And I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't back down. And so when I would start fighting, I'd be fighting one and beating that guy up, but his friends would get all upset and I'd get attacked from all sides. So I basically was fighting melees right there, because I would be fighting this guy, but I'd keep my head on the swivel because they'd come out of nowhere and hit you with whatever. And so I fought a lot, and Master Craig Dugan um, basically saved me. He knew that, dude, if you keep this up, you're going to be in prison. And he brought me to the SCA. Oh, he not brought me. I found it, but he uh, coddled me a little bit in the SCA to get that aggressive nature out of me and to focus it into fighting, so that when I started fighting, I had, and technically I was an angry black man. So I started channeling my anger into that and learning about honor and chivalry and integrity. And then I started trying to apply that in my real life, that words don't actually hurt you, and people would say something and I'd look at them and go, hey, that's your opinion. And then I just started walking away from that instead of being antagonized into getting myself into trouble by fighting, because I'm a not a fist fighter. I'm a grab anything that's has more constitution than my hands and hit you with it. So I was that, and you know, it was very interesting that they saw something in me that I hadn't found in myself yet. So SCA saved me and taught me a lot.
You're not the only person I've heard say that, and I think that's excellent. Um, did you have a question? No. Oh, okay. Um, so you started in, and did you you talked about one person that was your mentor? Did you end up squiring to someone?
I ended up squiring to Lars Wilhelmsen. I decided not to squire to, well, actually, he wasn't a knight. He was a baron and a pelican. Uh, but we hung around Duke Valens. I decided not to squire to the people that I hang out with normally because that would ruin the balance of relationship. I ended up squiring to someone who, and I hope he doesn't take offense to this, but I squired to someone that I wouldn't hang out with. That, you know, I had a tumultuous childhood and, you know, abusive, and my father wasn't very nice. So I tried to fall outside of my comfortableness and squire to someone who wasn't the best fighter in the kingdom and everything. But that dude had an ability to read and strategize and understand the fight so much that I thought that's what I needed to learn, since I had a lot of aggression and ambition already. I needed a more, I don't know how to actually say it. I needed more of an intellectual aspect of SCA to help balance me out.
So did you ask him to be his squire?
Uh, I did, and he said no.
Oh.
And then I proceeded to make him say yes by just coffee in the morning, oatmeal. He'd come out of his tent. Who made this oatmeal for me? Your squire? Who's my squire? Tomuki. You know, Gui at the time. Gui. And he was like, Gui's not my squire, you know, and his lady, Dagmar, really liked me, and so she kind of was in my corner. And I don't know if I should say it this way, because it's not ego. It's just when I first got in, I asked, what would it, what would you need to do to be famous in the SCA? And everybody said, kick some ass. And so from there, I went away for 3 months and I did the Optifast and lost 100 pounds. And then I started doing gym every day. And then I started hitting the Pell every day. I was like, oh, that's what you need to do. And in that um, process, I got good really quick, because literally I was only a squire a week before I won crown, and I'd only been in the SCA for a year and a half when I won crown. So, uh,
Wow.
so
Let's talk about that for a second and how you got good so fast. Like, one of the things that has been very telling in these interviews is how hard people that have been successful in fighting have worked. Well, you know, there's this myth that, you know, you all have natural talent and whatever, and that's totally not true. So tell me how
no.
hard you worked.
I would get up every morning at 4:30 and run 6 miles. During lunch, I would go do aerobics. And then at the end of the day, I would go to the gym for an hour and a half. And then I'd go hit the Pell for an hour and a half. And I did that literally every single day for a year and a half. I did it so much that Duke Valen says, "You've turned this into a sport." And I was like, it was already a sport when I got here. Don't blame me because you told me the formula that I needed to get better. And within a year and a half, I was winning a lot of tournaments and beating Dukes, and not saying that Dukes are the epitome of things, but I'm just saying beating Knights and Dukes and Counts and
Well,
stuff. And
I think that, I mean, the Dukes are the ones that, have achieved success as we define it in the SCA, right?
yeah.
So,
Well, I wasn't when I found the SCA. I didn't know anything about knights. I didn't read Arthur or the Knights of the Round Table or anything like that. I was a Greek mythology reader, and so there were only heroes and kings. So when I got in, I wasn't distracted about becoming a knight. To
distracted. I love that.
yeah, well, I was like, who cares about that? If I could kick your butt, who cares whether I'm a knight or not? I'm getting what I need out of that. And so when I won Crown, it was shocking, but also terrifying because I saw a side of the SCA that I really didn't enjoy, and that's why it was 10 years later before I fought in Crown again. That's literally like in the Wizard of Oz, where you look behind the curtain and you see the real wizard. Ooh, this is not what I want. I don't want you to destroy the SCA for me.
Yeah, a
And
year and a
so,
half in is way too early for that.
yeah, and the peers. I was a squire, and I wore my squire's belt, and the peers were not the best. So I just got a lot of the bad side of the SCA that I didn't enjoy.
Do you? I want to come back to the winning crown early, but I mean, do you think that winning crown that early set back your path to knighthood, like made it longer?
Uh, oh man, if you're really opening a can of worms now. Um, when I fought in Crown, it wasn't because I wanted. Well, it wasn't because I said I want to enter Crown and fight and win. I just was at a fighter practice, and Master Craig Dugan and Master Pavel Yosevich walked up to me and said, "Hey, do you want to fight in Crown?" And I was like, "I'm a broke college student. I'm barely able to pay $50 for rent. I don't have any money or a car to do that." And Master Craig was a doctor, and his wife, Alarba, Mistress Alarba, was a doctor as well. And they literally said, "No, we will fund your reign for you." And I was like, "What?" you know, that's thousands of dollars. And I said, "Well, I don't have anybody to fight for." And Master Pavel Yosevich said, "You can fight for my wife." And I went, okay. And my uh, ambition was to repay them for all their kindness, because Pavel, I would have like $2. And Pavel goes, "We're going to go to this event." And I go, "I can't go. I don't have any money." And he goes, "Just get in the car." And I was like, "I don't have any money for gas or food or drinks or anything." And he would take me to the event and just give me stuff constantly. That type of SCA camaraderie. Just get in the car and drive and help me set my tent up, and you can pay me back that way. Come over and mow my grass and do some weeding and stuff like that. And so I would do that. So for my first 3 years in the SCA, he pretty much funded me because I was a broke college student,
Right.
literally broke. And he took me everywhere. Every kingdom, every war outside of the kingdom, just took me everywhere, and paid my way. And he didn't. I was, I get a little emotional now because he's passed away, but I'd never had that type of what you would consider love, since I come from a house that was abusive. I wasn't used to someone doing that kind of stuff for me. So it was very weird. And from there, that taught me to pay it forward. Right now, if you're doing good and you need a pair of gauntlets, I'll buy you a pair of gauntlets, or give you whatever gauntlets I have, or a shield, or if you need a tunic, I talk my I you don't want one of my tunics, but I will go and I'll talk to my lady and go, hey, could you please do me a favor and make this guy a tunic, because he's in a polyester, tunic, and it looks like crap, and he needs to have something or an idea of what he should be shooting for. And so from there, what Pavel and the Shire of Grimfels taught me was to not be egotistical and want everything, because a lot of people win crown and they think me, 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 me. And it's really not that. It's about giving back to the SCA because you have gotten stuff from it. And it just really taught me to be a giver rather than a taker.
I think one of the best things about the SCA is how it teaches you how to be generous without expectation.
Yeah, I'm not expecting anything.
Right. Right.
It's like, you just need a tunic. That cost me $8, probably $10. Here you go. And time, Now, getting back to the chivalry
The question.
part, your kingdom was instrumental in getting me knighted, i.e., my kingdom wasn't going to knight me. Literally, I had 75 knights across the known world give me a link of chain, and
I was going to ask you about this because I heard the story.
And did a scroll and signed their names, and literally went to Penzik and had a known world shivs meeting where they browbeat my kingdom into knighting me. Because the only thing I could think of is that I had gone to TFYC with my bastard sword, and I had won. I think there's like, it's a week long and it's 2 a day. So there were like about 8 or 9 tournaments or whatever, and I had won over half of them with my bastard sword, and people were shocked, and they were like, dude, why are you not knighted? And I was like, oh, I've only been playing for a little bit of time. And people thought that I wasn't getting knighted because I was black, rather than I hadn't put in the time. And so Tim was actually the one that was instrumental in that. And people, I guess, the people across the known world didn't agree with the Callantyr chivalry, and they browbeat them into knighting me by doing that. So I don't know if that's, I don't know.
Or persuaded with
Well,
change.
well, you've been to Shiv meetings and known world Shiv meeting where they're like, what the fuck? Why is this dude, So I don't know what was said and what cursing through the drink and all of that took place. But, when people go, man, that's amazing. You're probably the only person that literally got knighted by the known world. And I was very grateful that other people saw something in me to do that fight. And so that's another avenue that I get humbled because they didn't need to do that. I mean, I wasn't paying their rent. I wasn't giving them money or anything like that. So why did they do that? They did that because they felt I deserved it. Yeah. So
I have to ask, do you still have that chain?
Unfortunately, I don't, because when I was moving here in California, I had all of my stuff in a car and my car got stolen. Oh. So I've been cobbling together a new Tomuki, but they took the old Tomuki and ran off with it. It's probably in a dumpster somewhere, or probably in a pawn shop or something like that.
Well, that I heard that story a long time ago, and I wondered if it was you. I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
So I'm super glad you told it.
I and you know maybe uh, when I won Crown, I was the first Black person to ever fight and win Crown. And when I went to Penzic, the first week was hell because people would come up and go, "Hey, you can't have a crown on your head until you fight Crown and win it." And my lady in waiting would have to stand up. He's the king of Callantyre, so they would then go back and get their lady and come up and bow to me. And that happened 100 times.
Wow.
And so the first week of Penzic was hell. But the second week of Penzic was great because by then people knew that there was a Black king. And it was basically like the Pope. I should have just been pulled in a wagon inside of glass with a spinning thing so people can see me, because that had never happened before. And people were, it was like, you don't think a Black person can fight?
You were a novelty. Yeah.
Literally a novelty. And then I was the second Black Knight in the SCA.
Wow. What year was that?
That I got knighted? 1991.
91.
Yeah.
So you got what, like 3 years after you won Crown?
I won Crown in 1989 and I was king in 1990.
Okay.
Wow. I don't know what to say to that.
So how was that first reign besides Penzic?
I was only 19. So being in charge of 30-year-olds was very daunting. And so I endeavored to make sure I knew Corpora. I endeavored to make sure I knew the kingdom law, and so that I knew what I was talking about when I would be in those meetings. And the other thing, it was like, because I was a junior minister in church, so it was sort of like getting up and doing sermons all the time. So, and as being an actor, I was very, animated and stuff. And it turned out as a whole that people really loved what I did and what I brought to it, the enthusiasm and the freshness, I guess. So technically, it was very good. But then you see the dark underside of the belly of a lot of stuff that you don't want to have to do with. I had to do things like banish the first queen, and do things that like that, the ugly side of the SCA that I don't like to really participate a lot in.
So you told us the story of your name change before we went on air, but if you could tell the story of your first name and how you got your second name, that would be great.
When I started, I wanted to fight in the Shire tournament, but Sir Eric Holowexon said that I couldn't fight in the tournament without an SCA name. So I went over to, at that time, since we didn't have internet, or so it was kind of hard to do a lot of research. So he had a book and gave me the book, and I just thumbed through the book and cobbled together a name. And I saw a name called Gui, Gwij, and it reminded me of like a Guido. So I picked Gui, and then I picked Van Utrecht to just kind of, because that was a city in Sweden, and I wanted to be from the city, and it also sounded kind of ominous. So for the first little bit, I was Guy van Utrecht, and kind of everybody would make fun. Oh, you're a black Swede, and so when I got ready to fight in Crown, I decided to get a little bit more serious, more period Nazi. And since I had a love of Carthage and Hannibal, I decided I wanted to kind of go that route. So I picked a device, which is a rampant black elephant on a white field. And then I just found a name that was at that time, I didn't have enough research and it wasn't the best use of my name, but I decided to get an African name just to kind of christen myself as the new person. And it, after being king with a new name, the new name stuck very quickly. Because so that helped me in that sense. Because when you change your name and you're not crowned, then people still walk up and say your own name, and you go, "No, I'm sorry, I'm Marcus now," or whatever. And then people don't, it doesn't equate to them. But when you become king, everybody knows you as your new name, and so it made it very easy for that name switch to happen.
So somebody is asking, what's your advice to squires and other fighters that feel like their fight skills have stagnated?
Stagnated? Well, the first question I will ask is your stagnation physical or mental? Because what has happened in the SCA, everybody gets on the Pell and they show you how to throw a flat snap. And this is how you do it. And this is how you throw an offside shot, whatever. But no one talks about the mental aspects of the game and the sense of ambition, the sense of drive, the sense of having the wherewithal to do Pell work, to have a journal, because the journal was very integral in my getting better, because every fight I would write it down and analyze it. And then I would write down what shots they threw. And anytime I stood in front of someone and they showed me a no shot, I would write it down. And then after a while, I went back, looked at all of my journals, and then I distilled down what was in those journals to create the Tomuki style of fighting, which is uh, really, kind of nothing. Uh, but I used to learn
Okay, wait a
fighting.
second. I
No,
can't let this go by.
what I mean by that is it's nothing new and nothing fantastic. It's just dedication. And when I first started, Duke Hump de Bohan used to say, "Feel the earth underneath you and then throw the blow." And I got in trouble the first 6 months because I bent a shield. Because I kept going, I'm seeing more of that guy's head, and I didn't realize I was bending the shield, but I was hitting too hard. And so
Too
when I
much
went,
earth.
yeah, so I went to the Pell, and then I went from off the shoulder to high guard. And then people were like, "You can't generate it." This is back in the day, not today, but you can't generate enough power with that with holding the weapon like that. And then I'd hit them, and they'd go, "Holy crap! I guess you can." And I had to figure out a way to take a little bit of my strength out of my fighting so that I could fit the communal level of fighting and not break people and break arms and stuff like that. So
Kind of,
that's kind of
Go ahead.
it's kind of important not to break your dance partners.
exactly.
So the other part of his question is, what would your advice be to somebody who's newer, who's considering fighting in Crown?
Oh, if you're considering fighting in Crown, this is what I would tell you, especially in this day and age, because I didn't have that then. I'm a football player and I'm used to game tape. I would look at a lot of fighting, doesn't matter who it is, start learning how to catalog their shots, their favorite shots, and learn how to block them, and then make them create other shots, because in the process of creating, no matter who it is, it slows you down a half second because you have to think about it before you can do it rather than it be natural. And if you can start making people start having to think while they fight and be a little bit more defensive, it will behoove you in your SCA career, because you can't kill anybody if you're already dead. And you can kill, and the longer you stay alive, the more opportunity you have. Whether it's a mistake or not, just learn how to stay alive and be a little bit more defensive, because what I'm noticing now is, why are you swinging? You know, I ask that to people, they go, well, he was swinging at me. And I was like, really? So if he went and jumped off a bridge, you jump off a bridge too? You know, so you have to be a little bit more strategic and have an understanding of cause and effect. If he throws a shot over here, you should expect the next shot to come on an off quadrant, because I had to block over with your shield. So learn cause and effect, and be aware of your surroundings.
So you are one of the biggest watchers of video that I know.
Yeah, I still today, I sit and watch at least 4 hours of video a day.
So my question to you is, for somebody who has a video camera and is videoing themselves and they've got their YouTube channel, what do you think that the most important things for them to do are with the video of themselves and the video of the other people?
What to do, meaning how
How do
to.
they, what are they looking for? What are they analyzing? Is that something that you would put in your journal? Like
Oh,
when you talked about your journal, like I have the same journal and I have that same process. So that's cool. But
for a young person that has their own YouTube channel and are videotaping, what you need to do is every to win a fight, no matter who it is, no matter if it's a Duke, a Count, or whatever, you only throw shots that have been successful. You rarely throw shots that you're inventing on the spot. So what you need to do as a new young fighter and a new YouTuber is to find out your tendencies and learn what those are. And once you figure out your tendencies, then your next job is to learn how to be able to defend on your weaknesses. Not saying you're going to always do it, but if you can learn how to defend on your weakness, then from there it becomes easier. Your strengths are your strengths, and if you can plug the holes in your weakness, you can become a better fighter with that. And plus, videotape Pell work, so that you can see how your body is throwing offside shots, how they're throwing flat snaps, because they're all different. Probably the best flat snap in the SCA to me is Duke Sean's flat snap. It Because it's so natural and it develops without a tell, that you don't know if he's throwing a flat snap until you're already hit, or you're lucky enough to block it. Holy, I didn't know you were throwing a flat snap. And as a young fighter, find out your tendencies and then learn how to start throwing your shots with less tells. Because the more chance you give your opponent to know where it's coming, the less successful it will be.
so let's go back to reigning a little bit. What made you decide to fight in Crown again 10 years later?
Well, I didn't want to go into this.
You don't have to.
Well, what had me fight in the second Crown was that um, I I had some health issues, and I didn't think that I was going to be able to finish it out. And so I wanted to, dovetail what I did and to see if I still had it. And then from there I won. And the reason why I fought in the third time was because after my health issues, I wanted to see if I still, first of all, I don't fight for anybody I'm dating. I fight for people that I think would be good queens. So I went to fight for Mistress B. She'd been in for 15 years and then never had anybody fight for her. So my reasoning to want to fight for her uh, uh, was inspirational, and plus my own ego, for lack of a better word, was the reason why I fought the third time. So it both times it was because of health. It wasn't because I wanted to be king, and people always thought that I was fighting in a ton of crowns because I was a somewhat of a good fighter, and that was not the case. That was not the part of the SCA I wanted to revel in. And no offense, I sit and I look and I was like, dude, how do you want to be king 8 times? Man, the drain on that, and the amount of money you have to throw away to do that. I never had. I'm an actor, so I never had that kind of expendable cash where I wanted to do 8, 9, 10 reigns. That's $3,000 a pop. That's a lot of
Jeez.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Minimum. you know and so I just never was economically sound enough maybe to do it. Maybe that could be the reason. I don't think so. I think it was because you know I want people to like me. and I don't want people, because as king you have to make decisions sometimes. You know, one decision, 60% of the crowd is going to hate you, but it's the right thing to do. But if you did the other thing that would make more people happy, only 40% of the people are going to hate you. So you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. So I don't like situations like that where you get enemies just because you're doing your job, and they don't understand. People don't understand that. Being king is a job, and a decision needs to be made, and they're trying to make the best decision for the populace, not for a specific set of people. My
Right.
job is to serve. To me, when I'm king, peers are like the children that have gone off to college. You still love them, but you're gone. The kids in the populace that you still have to bathe, feed, and tell stories to are the most important people to me. And peers are second, and they don't like to be second. So that causes a lot of rift with me because I don't coddle peers, because you already have what you wanted. My job is to help the guy that doesn't have what he's looking for at that point in time.
And they should be jumping in and helping you do that, not
Exactly.
with
But
their own
well,
attention.
I mean, as a peer, there talk about egos.
Yeah.
You sit there and you go, really? You know, aren't you supposed to be helping the SCA instead of still trying to get something? You already got it. You're not going to get any more. You
Yeah.
know, so, I, you know, the last time I was called up in court was 1991 to get my belt. I ain't been called up in court since then. You know, I'm not out to get tchotchkes.
No.
I'm here to help the SCA, and I just do what is I need to do to help the SCA move along.
Yeah,
So,
the SCA shouldn't be about getting. It should be about giving and following your passion
And building community.
and
exactly. I mean, that's what it should
following.
be. But you and I both know everybody wants tchotchkes.
Yeah.
you know, and I was like, who cares that you have that? As long as you're nice to people and you help them out, and you're getting everything you need from the SCA right there.
Yeah.
So I want to hear about how being an actor influenced how you ran court and how you were crowned.
Being a performer, you're doing a play, because I'm really a play person, even though I try to toss my hand into the film industry. uh, when you're doing a play, you know that you won't have a play without people, so you're doing it for them, and it taught me how to not be egotistical and want everything for myself, and learn how to let other people get what they need, be approachable. Because it was like after the show, everybody's in the green room and they come up and they say you're good or not, but you're approachable. And I wanted to be a very approachable king. And whether you've been in a week or a day or whatever, I wanted you to just be able to walk up and go, "Hey, Your Grace," I mean, sorry, "Hey, Your Majesty," do blah, 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 blah. And so I learned from that that you need to, no matter who you are, um, I'll put it. I'll put it in this analogy. When you first got in, when King so and so actually said a word with you, you felt all giddy and happy and everything. And so that is what I wanted to impress upon the people. If you can come up and talk to me, and I will sit, because I like talking. So I will sit and talk to this new guy that has only been here a week for maybe 3 or 4 hours, and the experience he gets from that, not an AOA and no award or everything, that's something he can go home and go, "Wow, the king sit and talk to me for 2 hours." That is what my job is as crown, not getting, you know, uh, stupid gifts and things and clothes and stuff like that. But that's what a lot of people want. "Oh, when I'm king, people will make clothes for me." Do you think that's going to be free? you know, and they expect that stuff for free. And I was like, they're not going to make that stuff for you for free. This is not the old SCA. This is the new, everybody broke SCA. Well, I mean, not broke, but don't have it that kind of expendable cash, because you're still trying to build, your SCA accoutrements yourself. So you just don't have that cash that you will go and go, "Oh, I'll just blow $200 to make that guy a tunic."
I find when somebody expects it, people are less likely to want to do it.
Exactly. And how that happened to me, which was another thing that taught me. I was a young fighter, and I had made a horrible red with white trim polyester tunic, and I was grinning from ear to ear that I'm just made my own garb, and I'm walking down, and Mistress Alarba and Countess Alarba and Countess Elizabeth, that actually lives in your kingdom, saw me. And then the next time they saw me, they called me over and they go, "Here." And they just gave me this tunic. And I was like, "What's this for?" And they were like, "Oh, you needed a tunic." And I was like, "I don't have money to pay you for that." And they go, "We didn't ask you for any money." Oh, so put that on and throw that thing away. And I was like, "Well, is it so bad?" And they go, "No, it's not bad, but it's polyester, dude." Get rid of that. So people started as a as someone not used to this, people just started giving me tunics and things like that just for no reason, and I was baffled. And "I like you," they would say that, and I wasn't used to that. I was thinking there was another agenda. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, and I just didn't realize that I was affecting people in such a way that they wanted to just give me something because they liked me. And so that was just very odd for me. And even to this day, when somebody just wants to give me something free, I was like, oh, I can't, I don't know what to say. I guess I can't take a compliment. Uh, but I just don't know how to respond to that when you want to give, Duke somebody something for free just because you like them. Oh, and that is something that, helped form my SCA persona, and as in a giver, pay it forward and always be willing to give and never be critical of someone, because you never know what someone's economic standing is. And they may not have the money to make the best tunic. So they may never be able to get that. And, you can help them along by giving them stuff. So I do that a lot,
Now you get it, right?
Now I get it.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of joy in being the giver, and
Yeah.
You get a lot out of that. I think one of the biggest things for me coming up in the SCA was how many people taught me how to make stuff and taught me their art skills.
Yeah, I'm looking at all of yours in the back. I was like, holy smokes. Are you making that for yourself?
That's all my stuff, but it's all like 20 years old because...
That's 20 years old?
Yeah.
Man, has that ever been washed? It's not frayed or anything. You must dry clean all your stuff.
I have secrets.
You have secrets.
She's made the really cool, fancy stuff since the beginning.
Oh, she has.
She's been, yeah.
And
So,
you of course make cool stuff too.
Not from the beginning, though.
Not from the beginning.
My 20-year-old stuff is no longer around.
That's called good sewing.
Yeah.
Because if that can hold up for 20 years and you made it, my goodness.
Okay.
Anyway, that got off on a tangent. I'm sorry. I meant that should be like, that's the giving part, and
no, that
yeah.
I sidetracked you by looking at your stuff in the back. I should have been looking at that.
It's very distracting. She's got some beautiful stuff back there. So, anyway. Did you I'm gonna bring you back to fighting for a second, and if we go a little bit over an hour, is that okay with you?
If we go a little bit what?
Over an hour, because we're almost at an hour and I haven't finished.
Oh, I'm
okay.
Like I say, I like talking, and I'm here until when you say cut.
It sounds to me like you never really had like problems getting like into the mental zone or anything because of your martial arts background and your football background and everything. But is there anything you do train mentally, or that you train your students mentally?
Well, as you have a fighting journal, you also need to have a psychological journal. I know that sounds stupid and it sounds very work intensive, but you need to learn how to stay within yourself. Like, I'm just going to give, for instance, I'm not saying that I can beat this guy or whatever, but if I were going to fight Uther, when people fight Duke Uther, they lose already because they're like, oh, that's Duke Uther. Boom, you've already lost. You have to learn how to stay above it. If I can just, I would go at it as, if I can just stay alive, he'll make a mistake, and then I'll capitalize on that mistake. And then that puts me in a positive frame of mind. The second you go into something with a negative connotation, you've already lost, because you can't rise above that. You have to learn how to stay above it. Not saying you could beat Uther, but just saying, these are the things I need to do to beat that guy. A, B, C. And as long as you have that plan in mind, then the outcome may be successful to you. But never walk in defeated. You should always walk in with a positive mind frame.
So I think it's funny that you chose Uther, because I have a really funny Uther story that I'm going to tell really, really fast. The first time that anyone ever fought for me and got into finals was when Uther came up to fight an On-Tier Crown. And this guy fought for me. And while we're processing in, he looks over at me and apologizes. He's like, I'm sorry. And I'm like, I don't care if we win or not, but you should have some faith in yourself that you're gonna.
Exactly. Well, he already lost. I mean, no offense to that dude, but he already lost.
Right.
Because he didn't.
He was acknowledging he had already lost to me.
Yeah. I was like, all you have to block is 2 inches. You're telling me you can't sit in front of Uther and move your stuff just 2 inches and block and block and block,
Anyway.
and then wait for an opportunity to strike him? I'm not,
No,
that's
that's
a hard opportunity.
You're going to have a better opportunity or probability of winning the fight if you haven't already lost it in your brain before you get on the field.
Exactly. The thing that I always like about fighting is when they're calling out the list and they go, Lord so-and-so fights Duke Tomuki, and everybody goes, ooh. Well, they demoralize that guy just by the community right there. He's already demoralized because he has never fought me, but obviously he's coming up for a world of hurt. And therefore, he already loses in his mind, rather than saying, I don't know who that dude is, and I can kill him just as well as he can kill me. Which is true. No matter how good you are, there's always somebody better, and there's someone always faster, and there's somebody who has skill that fall right into your cracks and can kill you. So you can't, it's very, you can stay high and consistent, but you're not going to kill everybody. That's just virtually impossible.
Well, it's actually sort of mentally freeing to fight somebody that's super good, or like a Uther, because you can just fight your best fight and put it all out there. And if you win, oh my God, you won. And if you lost, then nobody expected you to win anyway.
Exactly.
So, anyway. What do you think the difference in responsibility is between being a knight and being a duke?
The different responsibilities.
If you think they are.
No, there's a different level. When you're a knight, your responsibility to me is to the community and to do training and teach, because people don't realize teaching is harder than what it looks like, because you have to be able to analyze your own fighting and know exactly what you're doing and be able to pass that on to the next person, or say, hey, don't do that because this will happen or whatever. And so, we need a little bit more knights teaching and understanding and breaking down their own fight. As a duke, your responsibility to me is kingdom. Not very many dukes will autocrat events or do things of that nature, and I feel that that's my job, as being a past ruler, that I still am giving to the kingdom, and I'm a very much of a royalist, i.e., I don't want to hear anything derogatory about my king, or I'll stand up and toss down my gauntlet. I think they can do wrong, but to have that level of respect for the crown and have that level of respect for the kingdom is, I think, what the Duke's job is. And I'm going to say something that's going to get horrible. A lot of Dukes will feed their own ego, i.e., not taking shots, not doing that. And that tears down the kingdom, because there's a communal level of acceptance of blow acknowledgement, and you're now saying that you are so good that you don't have to follow the communal level of blow acknowledgement. I am a person, Duke or not, I'll call you out in a heartbeat in circle. Why didn't you take that shot? Or how dare you impugn my honor? How dare you impugn that guy's honor by not taking a legal shot? That is the thing that always gets me. There's like, you can't call my shots because, you're impugning my honor, but they never think about it the other way. Well, you're impugning that guy's honor by not taking his shot. So, what's
I think
the
it's
deal?
gaslighting. I honestly believe it's gaslighting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I, no matter who you are, but especially a Duke, I'm going to call you out on that. And I will, and that's the reason why, I'm pretty much probably not totally loved, because I don't BS. I tell the truth. It looked like to me that shot hit you, dude. What's up with that? And how dare you call me on that? And I'll stand in the circle and stand up and say it. Excuse me, Your Grace. That last crown, you only made it to the finals because you ignored 18 blows to get there. And then I become the asshole. And
Well, but if more people would do it, then you wouldn't be the asshole, and there wouldn't be this stigma, right? Like it would be like, let's just call each other on our bullshit, and have some clean fighting, and make it so that you're giving somebody the win when they've earned it.
Well,
like
in my household, I have a complete rule. If you think I'm blow shucking or whatever, I want you to call a hold, walk out on the field and look me right in the face and go, "You're done, Your Grace." Because I need you to save me from myself.
Right.
Because, you become a Duke because you have skill and you're doing well. And as time goes on or whatever, you start getting, I'm a badass, and you're not allowing other people to land blows on you and acknowledge it. So you're being a detriment to yourself, and you're ruining your reputation by just becoming a dick, so.
And as someone from outside of that circle of chivalry, it colors the whole order when people pull off shots. It colors the whole order. And I feel resentment when the other knights and the other Shiv and the other royal peers are not calling people on those blows. I think it should be mandatory.
Well, I think that I really think there should be more active marshaling, i.e. the marshals saving you from yourself. But, I don't want to disparage your kingdom, because I love it, and I want to move there when I retire. But, that was what I feel. I'm not quite sure, because he's never said it to me. But I think that's what drove Octamasada and Arminius out of fighting, because of people not taking blows when they're getting hit. And they couldn't fight that fight because they're not Dukes. And I think it demoralized them or something from fighting. And so that's why I actually think they stepped away. Only they could say that. But that's what I got from that. He may never say it, because that's almost probably, cutting your throat by saying it in the kingdom you live in. But I really think that was what drove out two of the best fighters in the SCA, due to people not staying along the communal level of blow acknowledgement.
So because somebody's brought up the fact, you're not in the armor, whatever. What I want to say, and I just for a minute here, I just have to say it, is I don't care. Perception matters. And if you're being perceived as not taking blows, but you're not feeling them, then there's a problem. And you need to be open and receptive to hearing that, and caring that there's perception problem. We
Yeah.
should care about how people perceive our blow calling. It shouldn't be all about winning. We should care about that. And that's my thing. Sorry.
And well, and as you know, I don't know how long you've been in the SCA. How long have you been in?
Too long.
Too long? What, about 20 years maybe?
Probably over 20 years now.
Okay. Well, you've been in long enough where
23 years probably.
Where ego starts rising up and you're like, dude, you act like you're Goliath and I could never kill you. You know, I can get better, just because you beat me last week doesn't mean that you can beat me this week. And that's the ego starts getting in the way, and people not feeling those shots, or maybe deciding not to take those shots. I don't know what is the problem, whether they're not feeling them. Well, I do know, but I don't want to be a total ass.
Yeah,
I think they are actually feeling them and deciding not to take them because I'm a winner. I'm not a loser, and they do that.
One of the things I've struggled with is, I've worked, you've watched my journey on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I've worked a very long time on power generation. And I finally got what I feel is good power generation. And then I got this thrust that I can hit like right off the bat.
Yeah.
And it's too good of a blow. I'll hit it and it's too good. It happens too fast. It's too hard. And people just assume it's their shield. And they'll be like, that was shield. And I'm like,
I don't think so. That how you have that thing up and you just drop it in on them. Yeah, that's fast as crap. I think that happened because you were working with that tether ball when I was watching. And I think that by doing that, I don't know if you did it every day or not, but I think that helped your accuracy with that thrust, because it comes in quickly and way off to the side where there's nothing to block it. And as watching your fighting tape, I see you hit somebody with that, and I was like, you ain't gonna take that, and then you never say anything, and I was like, hey, I think there should be stopping and having a conversation right now.
We can talk about that offline, but I have been,
I have things to say about that offline.
So anyway, let's move back to you, and we'll
okay.
About calibration. Although, you know what, I really think that we should have more conversations like this publicly about calibration and about talking to each other, because I really anytime I've ever stepped in on somebody and said something, it's always from a place of love.
Yeah.
It's never that I want to tell you you're cheating. What I want to say is, this doesn't look good. And I know that I would care if it didn't look good.
Well, they should be accepting. If I'm going to say something, that means that I want you to do better. If I thought you were a piece of crap, I wouldn't say anything to you.
Right.
But I'm saying it as a friend to make sure that you are saving your reputation, and then you're not, becoming a rhino hide. We both know someone that just will not listen.
So we've talked about how traditionally post their own better. So let's end on something good.
Good.
What is the coolest tradition in Kaid?
The coolest tradition in Kaid.
Or Callantyr, wherever.
Okay. No, I'll stick with Kaid. The coolest tradition in Kaid is, I would say, the Queen's Champion tournament.
And why is it cool?
Because it's, the guy has a day where he gets, not always the guy, but I
knew what you meant.
The male part, the person fighting for this, is out and has a day where they get to display their prowess and everything. And that day you have, 75 to 80 people wanting to display their honor and chivalry for the Queen. And that helps balance it out a little bit.
And does the queen choose her champion from?
No, the winner of the tournament is her champion.
Okay, cool. That's cool. All right. Did you bring your sword by chance? I don't think I reminded you.
I actually did.
Excellent. But before we look at the sword, Dawn or Ashaxia, was there anything else that you wanted to talk about? I mean, I could probably talk to Tomuki forever, but
Yeah, same.
okay.
So
All right, let's look at your sword. All right, got a big thrusting tip on there.
A thrusting tip.
Not planed.
Not planed. The handle is plain to fit oblong because it fits into the hand naturally.
Is that grip tape in the handle or?
That is actually, I am very persnickety. I really like hockey tape. I think that's the best, and that helps build the best handle, and it helps build, because this is hockey tape as well, and it just really holds up a little bit better. So I cross hatch some fiber tape on there, and then I go back and put the hockey tape on it because I just like the way that feels.
Cool. How long is the sword?
Well, this is not usually my normal. This one is 37. I normally fight with a 34-inch sword because I feel that it handles really well, and it with my style of fighting, and because I'm not a stay out at range type person, I'm literally a range type fighter. I like to get into the mix and be challenged and not sit out and snipe stuff. And I just think that's not weenie, but that's, if you don't want to put yourself in danger, you wouldn't fight in real life that way. Stay out going eh.
I think you're the reason my husband fights with a 34-inch sword. So all of our guts, thank you for the nice stab. So do you use a trigger or a lanyard?
Normally I move because I made this sword to fight with my left hand, and obviously to add another dimension, because I used to fight with cross hilt swords only on the right hand. But I decided that since I'm switching over to left-handed, I might as well try something new. And so I put a basket hilt on it, and I do fight with a trigger, a 2-finger trigger on the inside of the basket hilt.
So are you gonna fight left-handed sword and shield then?
Yes, and when I say that, I'm gonna predominantly fight whether I get my butt kicked or not. I'm just gonna keep pushing and pushing, and because it's something I'm working towards. It's not something that I just need to be good right at. It's something to help me stay motivated in fighting, because I had lost my motivation in fighting when I wasn't able to fight. So I'm doing things that will help me stay motivated in fighting.
I think that's amazing, especially for someone like you that's not tourney motivated or crown motivated.
No, I'm not winning motivated either. I don't need to kick your ass. I just need to do the best that I can do. And if that just, turns out to where I'm kicking your butt, then I'm kicking your butt. If if I go 50-50 or whatever, then that just shows the weaknesses in my style, and I need to work on that. So I don't mind inching up. Hey, I fought you and I went 40 and you went 60. The next time I fight you, I have to go 50-50, and the next time 60. I don't mind inching up and showing progress and work.
Yeah, even slow progress is progress.
Exactly.
One of my mantras.
Well, the reason why I say that is because these young fighters just want to step out and just beat everybody's ass. And I was like, well, you're not going to beat Uther's butt because he has 30 years of experience and you've only been fighting for 2 years, you need to work it up, and, make him throw, if he killed you with 2 blows last week, make him throw 5 blows this week, make him throw 10 blows, and slowly work up. And then you will understand what you're doing. Because if I just walked by and could touch you and you could be the best fighter that you could be, you would be the best fighter, but you wouldn't understand your fighting. It takes the losses for you to understand your process and how to get better in fighting.
And it takes the long, hard path to feel accomplishment and to feel not the value, but the sense of I guess
accomplishment
is the right word.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, if it wasn't hard, why do it?
Exactly.
Yeah. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else before I go to the final 10? No?
I'm good.
Okay.
This has been really fun.
That's been really fun. Thank you. All right. If you could fight anyone in the world, who would it be?
If I could fight anyone in the world, who would it be? Well, I'm going to probably have to throw a wrench in here. I would like to fight anybody that wants to fight me.
Have a long line.
Yeah, I do. I would have a long. But what I mean by that is, because I want to give to everybody and teach everybody all the time. Because I'm the type of person, even with you, I was like, man, we've got to do and figure out what we can do to help you win crown, because I want you to be successful. I don't want you to be a loser, or feel like a loser. Well, when I mean loser, not a loser, but a loser as in the fighting all the time. And I want you to experience that aspect, because I want everybody, because I feel any and everybody can win crown if you just think it through, instead of just going out there and throwing crap on the wall and hoping it sticks.
All right. Who would you like to see reign in your kingdom?
The people I would like to see reign in my kingdom are Philip Williams of Aston and his wife, Mistress Rebecca Mary Robinson. They have a high sense of integrity, chivalry. They want to improve the SCA. And I think they would just have a good understanding of being king and knowing what's expected of them to help the populace and not feed their own ego.
Very well thought out answer. I like that. If you could talk stick with anyone in the world for an hour, who would it be?
Once again, I'm going to throw a wrench. I like talking stick.
Mm-hmm.
So what that answer would be is anybody willing to sit down and listen to me ramble for an hour talking about stick.
Host a show, ask Tomuki.
You'd never get off the air. You just be on all the
time. My lady says I should start a YouTube channel and talk about SCA fighting, and I'm hesitant because there's a lot of people that talk SCA fighting, and I don't know if what I believe and say really resonates with the crowd. So I've just been a little shy about that. So, but I think I'm going to just sit down for 10 minutes and make a video once a week about it. And if it resonates with somebody, it resonates. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
if you reach one person and make a difference in one person's life, that's huge.
Okay.
You know, I mean, think
Yeah.
of it that way. We started doing interviews because I don't know, we wanted to give people a chance to get to know people that aren't always accessible.
Oh, okay.
You know, we started with Lions of Ontier, who are like these big pillars of our community that people don't get a lot of access to, and people don't really get to know.
Yeah.
And so being able to have conversations like this and people being able to watch that is kind of a big deal. And so you putting your knowledge out there and allowing people to pick your brain is pretty cool. I think you should do it.
Well,
I can tell you that you're going to resonate with people. I have no doubt.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Because the other thing I wanted to do, like I said earlier, is I want to make a video called The Comeback, i.e. Let's just be honest. I am completely out of shape from fighting. And so I would like to make a video from beginning to end. This is the level that I was at, and this is the time I go to the gym and things, and then get back to that young, vigorous Tomuki that was 225 pounds and leaping around and doing stuff. Granted, I know at 54, sorry, I'm not going to be that again, but I can get close to that. I can aspire to that.
But you're going to be a smarter fighter.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And you already have all that foundation that you don't have to put back into place. So I think it's actually going to be scarier.
Well, I wish old Tomuki could go back in time and take young Tomuki and go, why are you leaping behind them? Why are you doing that? You know, you could have killed them 2 or 3 times in doing that movement. Save your energy and learn how to be a more efficient fighter so that you can fight more and more people. Yeah.
More
But
like
I was very active and very vigorous and burning a lot of energy for no reason other than I could.
So the general consensus is you have to do the comeback video.
Oh, really?
People are demanding it.
You should definitely go back and read the comments and when we're done.
You should.
Oh, I should. Okay.
All right. What is your favorite medieval-esque or period movie?
I'm gonna say something that wasn't popular, but I'm not a big fan of Camelot. That just didn't resonate to me. King Arthur and Camelot. I would say, and it definitely wasn't 13th Warrior. That just pissed me off because they were doing things that you shouldn't even be able to do, wearing armor that you shouldn't even be having. Aren't you Viking? Why are you in full plate? You know.
Cool.
Excuse me, on a foot spun grinder, you took a straight sword and curved it like that? How'd you do that? You know. So I would say my favorite fighter-esque kind of movie would be Gladiator.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
If you could add a rule to the rules of the list, what would it be?
If I could add a rule to the list, it would be active marshaling.
What is your favorite tournament format?
When you mean by tournament format, what do you mean?
Like Swiss or round robin, double limb?
Oh, okay. I thought you meant weapon style idea. I really like these new format, the best 2 out of 3, because it allows people to because if it's just a regular, you make one mistake and then boom, you're in the loser's tree. You make another mistake, you're done. At least this way, I'm allowed to make a mistake and allowed to learn how to correct it in the same process. And I think it's a more of a learning format. And I really like that. So best 2 out of 3.
Cool. What is your favorite event?
My favorite event is in Palantir, and it's a great sword and bastard sword tourney. Um, I just really, probably because I was a bastard sword fighter, I just really like that. Um, I started in Palantir where um, it wasn't a complete sword and shield kingdom. It was a great weapon kingdom. And I think that that also was instrumental in me becoming the person that I am, because I had to spend so much time authorizing and getting good with each one, because I wanted to be a hero, and to be a Huskarl, you have to be authorized in everything, but good in three, deadly in three. And so I had to spend some time to figure out what those weapons were. And I think that people should, if you fought 15 tournaments sword and shield, why are you not fighting with a glaive? Why are you not fighting with the Florentine or something, and challenging yourself and putting a hurdles in front of yourself and see if you can clear them? People just fall back to what is comfortable, and they never want to test themselves. And that's what I love about Palantir's different weapon styles. It allowed me to always be challenging myself. Um, except for Madhu. I'm not a Madhu fighter.
So I have to ask you, have you ever fought Duke Mark from the West? Have you guys ever gone bastard swords together?
No, but I have, of course, seen a crap ton of video. We have two different styles. Since he is fit,
He's very
I
fit.
he's very fit, probably running 7 miles a day and stuff like that. He is a on the bicycle bastard sword fighter, i.e., always backing up and keeping you at the range he wants. And as a big guy, I am a in your face type of bastard sword fighter, using your shield as part of my shield and stuff. So there's two different styles of bastard sword fighting, and
Okay.
I'm a more in your face type guy, and he's a athletic type guy.
Yeah, all about controlling the range.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if you could have any helmet, regardless of cost, what kind would it be?
Ooh. Well, uh, I don't want to insult Guy, but I have a Guy helm, so that was something I always wanted. But if I could have any helm I wanted, I've seen a couple of dongle helms with a lot of fancy grill work and stuff like that, but I'm old school, and I'm not willing to spend $1,500 on a helm. I'm still, when I came back, I was talking to Jonathan Duke Jonathan Whitewolf. I don't know if you know him.
Yeah.
He's from Aidenvelt, and he was like, I said, yeah, I want to get a new helm. And he was like, oh, okay, what kind of helm you want? And I said, this. Well, how much money you got to spend? And I said, I have a whopping $350. And he was like, he literally laughed at me. He goes, you do know helms are running about $1,200 and $1,500 now. And I was like, what? I ain't spending no $1,500 on a helm. You know, uh, you know, I would like it, but every time I put it on or somebody hit it, I would be cringing because, I'm a miser. I like to keep my money. I'd rather collect interest
Brain
in
is
the
worth
bank.
it.
Well, I'd rather have the money collecting interest in the bank than than sitting there. My first helm only cost me $10, a compressor helm out of a out of a refrigerator. And I had to wear earplugs because it rang and it would hit my inner ear and make my knees go wobbly. And so, my first helm was cheap, and the rest of my armor was completely cheap because I would see a rusty elbow cop in your corner and I was like, hey, what are you going to do with that? And they go, nothing. And then I'd take it and I'd go shine it up and then start wearing it again. And, because like I say, I was a broke college student. So freebies and Oh, you're not going to use that? What are you going to do with that shield? Oh, that shield is 15 years old. It's not broken. Are you still using it? No. Hey, can I have it? You know, I'm that kind of guy. So,
Nice. That's nice. Okay. It's Saturday morning at Estrella, and several people want to talk to you about last night. What did you do?
oof. I'm a very meek and mild individual. So if they were going to ask me what I did, I I handle alcohol very well. I literally can drink about a fifth of alcohol and not even be buzzed. So obviously I got drunk that night, and with my size and stuff, I must have turned into Godzilla and started destroying stuff that I shouldn't have destroyed, and having to say a ton of apologies for
Oh,
being out of control, because I never get to that point, because being such a big guy, I don't ever want to be out of control, because that's how you end up hurting people.
yeah. All right. Who is your favorite fight ever?
My favorite fight ever. I would say that my favorite fight ever was from, I don't even know if he plays anymore. Duke the Mighty from Trimaris. I would say that because that was the first time I've ever had my butt whooped so soundly. He was a left-hander, and I had three left-handers in our shire, so I was used to fighting left-handers. But he just, to the to the point, it took a year, because he beat me in this tournament, and then he said something, and I immediately took it wrong, because I was like, what? He beat me, and he goes, man, I beat you so bad, I think you owe me a 6-pack of beer. And that was very, I wasn't used to people being, Deion Sanders braggadocious in the SCA. And so I was just like, what? F you. But I realized that he had fun, and that was his way of expressing it. A year later, because I went home on the Pell, and I had that dude. I have a talent. I have an eidetic memory when it comes to fighting. I know exactly what you did, how you did it, how fast you threw it, and I went on the back home on the Pell, and I just would keep envisioning Duke the Mighty, and then a year later, I came back and I beat him in a tournament, and then I leaned over him and I said, yeah, I kicked your ass so good you owe me a 6-pack of beer. And his eyes got bigger, because I'd lost 90 pounds by then, and I wasn't recognizable. And he was like, oh my God, that's you. And I was like, yeah. I said, you don't know how long I wanted to come back and cross swords with you, because I'd never been beaten so soundly. And he was very good.
I love that. I love that
Yeah.
people's best fights are always the ones where they get beaten and they learn something. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
All right, and then the bonus question is, who is the cleanest fighter in your kingdom?
Who's the cleanest fighter in our kingdom? If I were going to say, I would say Duke Sven. I think he's very clean, but he's also a very temperate individual. He's not a very aggressive. I mean, granted, he's set the throne 4 times, but he's not a very aggressive individual. His device is a sloth.
Yeah.
That should tell you everything right there. But I think his blow acknowledgement, his ego hasn't risen up enough, and so therefore he takes, a good blow. So I would say him.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for agreeing to talk with us. I've had a super fun time tonight, and it's been great to just hear your story and hear all your knowledge.
Oh, well, I want to thank you. It's You know, you play the SCA, but you never know, like I say, who you touch and who you don't touch. And for you to ask me to be on the interview was, humbling enough. I was very happy about that. Not because of what I wanted to say, just that I hit in your brain pan of people that you wanted to talk to.
Well, you are one of my favorite teacher mentor people.
Oh,
So you should know that. I think the world of you.
okay.
You're kind of a big deal in our house.
Yeah, you are.
Oh,
You're a big
really?
deal.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
You're the big deal.
Thank you, ladies, very much.
Anyway, and Optimus Adi says you touched him as well.
Oh, he did.
He said the word touch. I used the exact word.
Hey, I want to be honest, and hey, I'm not shy. I'm good. I'm okay with my masculinity. If I was gonna marry a dude, it would probably be Optimus Adi.
And on that note, thank you all for joining us. Tomorrow I'm talking to His Royal Majesty Morgan from Aidenville. That should be
okay.
fun.
I know Duke Morgan. I love Duke Morgan.
And he looks like Batman. Like I met him and I'm like, that dude is
so ripped.
Right.
I can only be jealous.
Right.
that I could be that ripped. Because I saw him when he won his first crown and he fought, and it was a good fight. But I've actually seen the progression. And now he's literally almost untouchable.
Seriously.
I was like, dude, you have progressed even after you won crown.
I think like he had some sort of injury or something where he had to I think this is what I remember, where he had to work out, and then he just sort of built on it. But anyway, so we're talking to His Royal Majesty Batman tomorrow.
Exactly. I would love to see that.
And thank you all for joining us, and thank you again, Your Grace. I really appreciate it, and see you later.
Good night.
Thank you. See you later. Good night, guys.